Very good morning. I don't know if the AV was generated using AI because okay, I thought as much because it sounded much better than whatever I could think of. I hope all of you had breakfast. Yes? Because I'm feeling, if I have to express my feeling, all of a sudden they just called and said, the first speaker is this. Because usually in a function, there will be some preamble to the, seminar and all of that. So the feeling is something like the first dosa. Have you made dosa? Anyone? The first dosa may not be the best one, but someone has to go first, right? So that the next ones get better. So here I am, your humble dosa. So let me share some perspectives on what I feel, and I represent UPS on skilling and global leadership from a Tamil Nadu perspective. This is a common situation at every home. Can you relate to it? If you have school-going children, definitely my sons do it. Okay, so in the last minute, they go around, and there was a time 5-10 years back, they used to ask me to write their essay and holiday assignment and all that, but these days they don't trouble me. But I don't know if the teachers are also doing the second part of it. But that's where we are today. And particularly when we have a lot of academia members here, when I was looking for what's the latest news, the last 2-3 months, what's in the press, from a teacher's perspective, from academia perspective, what are our emotions around AI? Do you share this consensus that we are worried about students using AI? While teachers are concerned about students using AI, but they seem to be happy using AI for a lot of their work. So it's a mixed bag out there. And then a lot of students are using AI to do their homework. So these are the standard concerns that are coming. But I came across 2 new words. Right. And that's something that I wanted to talk about. Cognitive depth and productive struggle. Do these words resonate with you? Cognitive depth, productive struggle. Because this is hot off the press. June 23rd was an MIT report where very interesting analysis they did. They took 3 groups of students. One who used ChatGPT to write their essays. The other who used Google and other searches to write their essays. And the third group, which was more the control group, which used only their brain and they were not given additional support. And the results were startling. I mean, what they see is the neural activity and the neural network connections, the patterns that they observed when they had the EEG results of all the 3 groups. The connection seems to be more pronounced in the third group, which used only their brain. Right? So that was an interesting observation. So when I look at these 2 words, right, the cognitive depth. So the cognitive depth, this has been there in the literature for some time. Cognitive depth basically where you forgo your thinking in order to just get the right answers, but you don't really get into, or you don't have a real idea of why the answers are what they are. And this was an interesting discussion with Larry Page, Google founder, long back, even when Google came into existence. Right? Because this generation of most of us, I can relate to. We had something called serendipity. Serendipity means accidental discovery, right? So you won't get answers for what you seek immediately. So when you look at, when this question was asked to Larry Page, did Google make people intelligent or dumb? His answer was, we have made them dumb. Because knowledge comes when you question, and today, the Google doesn't even allow you to complete your question, right? I just say bridge 2025, it says bridge 2025, the venue, and it completes the question even for me, right? There are 10 standard questions based on what people have asked. Imagine if Google had made us dumb, what has ChatGPT made? Right? So this is the cognitive depth that people are talking about. And then there is this other phrase, the second phrase I saw, which is productive struggle. So the productive struggle refers to the process where as individuals, we kind of grapple with challenging tasks and we encounter obstacles and we actively work through. And that's how, we achieve mastery. That's how the learning process happens. I'm preaching to the choir here. You're all experts here on learning pedagogy, right? And some of us, the technology folks from industry, the way we learn programming and all that, today, all you need to do is give the business problem and it gives you the code snippet. So this productive struggle is something which is the natural process which creates deeper understanding, critical thinking, builds resilience. That's eroding. So the challenge in front of us as academicians is, and industry of course, how do we ensure that we use AI not to eliminate this struggle? How do we ensure that we don't give the answers right away, but kind of use it more like a co-pilot, kind of helping the learners in their thinking process, giving them prompts rather than answers, right? So this is going to be a very interesting arena for us as teachers. So that was the general kind of reading that you do today on AI. But let me give a quick commercial on a 2-minute commercial, given that I have this opportunity in front of this learned audience, who we are. So we are United Parcel Service, a logistics major, a Fortune 40 company. We are there for about 118 years. If you see, we deliver about 20 million parcels a day. And in terms of the value of goods that are moved in our network, it's about 2% of world's GDP. So they say if you get into a reduction in the GDP of about 25-30%, economy goes into recession. Just think about it. 2 weeks the network goes down. So that's the power of this network. What we deliver and all that. We have about 600 planes, our cargo flights. We do have our planes landing, Roundtails landing in Bangalore and Delhi twice a day now. And if you just look at the number of planes, we would be in the top 10 airlines with 600 planes, right? And if you look at our website, with 700 million hits a day, if we were a search engine, we would be in the top 10 search engines. Because people are with 20 million parcels in the air anytime, right? So people are actively searching where their parcels is, what's happening with them, and more than 500,000 employees and serving 220 countries. So if this is what the company is, it will be interesting to see how we use AI, right? So I would like to share a few use cases, if I can, on how we are using it. One is with 150,000 fleet and with about 200 odd parameters to monitor on the vehicles, we use it actively in predictive maintenance. How we can ensure that what's the probability of something failing and how do we ensure that we do predictive maintenance out there. The second is an interesting case study, and last year it won the CIO 100 award, which is intelligent virtual assistant, because we get about 50,000 mails a day. So to answer those mails, we do have agents, human agents, who are working on it. But now we are using virtual assistant, which kind of reduces about 50% of the time that the agents spend today in resolving these emails. The third, what you see with the mobile, and this is a very interesting thing. Much before Google came with their Google Maps and all that, in 2003, we had our first version of Orion. Orion stands for On-Road Integrated Optimization and Navigation. Imagine with 150,000 truck drivers on the road, and each one of them deliver about 200 parcels a day, which is about 15 to 20 stops every hour. And there is an active route optimization algorithm that goes on. And it's very interesting. For example, this helps in saving fuel. For example, it saves about close to 100 million miles of driving, because it saves 6 to 8 miles per driver per day on an average, right? So that's 100 million miles a day. And what it translates to in terms of sustainability and all of that is it's lesser fuel, 10 million gallons lesser fuel. And it also helps the bottom line of the company. It saves about $300 to $400 million savings annually. So all of this is possible using technology and AI that we do. And the last use case I would like to share is on network planning, what we do. Because we know, operating in a B2C segment, we will get 20 million parcels in our network, but God knows from where, who is going to send to whom, right? So that's where, our predictive algorithms and they work on it. For the next 1 to 2 weeks, we have fairly reasonable accuracy predictions, because this is required, particularly when you have 500,000 people working for you. What are the nodes where we will see choking of traffic, choking of parcels? Where do we add the labor? Where do we add additional fleet? So that's where, some of these AI use cases we use. Now, everyone is so fascinated about AI today, but we all know AI has been there for a long time. I think the AI as a word came into existence in 1950s, right? In 1959, Arthur Sumwell from IBM, one of the research engineers, he coined the word machine learning. So this has been there for a long, long time. But and we keep saying change is the only constant. But what is happening today is the rate of adoption of change is very fast, right? That's what makes us worried, or more than makes us worried, makes it more challenging. And how we ensure that we always stay ahead of this technology curve, right? So if you look at how some of these apps got into 1 million users, Netflix took about 3.5 years, and you look at ChatGPT in less than 5 days. And Ghibli, which I used for all of this presentation, in less than an hour, it got a million users. So much that Sam Altman has to say, my GPUs are melting, please stop, and all of that, right? So the pace of change is what is interesting today. Now, how does it all translate to campus? Now, when I shift, so I gave you some examples of how UPS we use AI, but what does it mean for us? I'm sure there are a lot of deans here, and we are all interested in how do we secure placement for our students and all of that, right? So when you look at how this whole campus selection has evolved, because I have been working with campuses for some time now. You remember this? We used to have this aptitude test, right? And it used to start with pen and paper and OHP marker and all that. And I'm not saying from a different era, okay? It was just 15 years back. So we still had aptitude tests that was there for a long, long time. And they were, training partners and agencies who used to just do that. And I used to wonder, they 4 years they are doing their engineering, and we are just doing an aptitude test, which even a 12th standard student can do if he's smart enough or if he's trained. So why this 4-year engineering? And then slowly it shifted. So from your aptitude, it shifted to skills. And that's where we started. The last 5 years, at least, I think most of the companies are moved towards programming test. But now, in the last few months, most of the companies, they will shift, okay? They will shift. They have already started shifting on hackathons and all of that. But these days, many companies that I talk to, they say they don't look at CVs. They just ask for the GitHub profile. They look at the project portfolio that the students have done. They look at the hands-on and they move on. So if this is what is happening, what are the things that we can do from academia and industry together? So I would like to leave you with 3 thoughts. The first is, just like Kamakoti sir started Anaivarukkum IIT and kind of democratized IIT learning with the BS program, online program, I think we may have to have Anaivarukkum AI. And that's where, as universities and deemed universities and autonomous institutions, many of you have flexibility. And even Anna University has come up with this major, minor and all that. Pretty much every student should have a minor in AI. Because it's not about technology, it's about how we can apply AI in whatever discipline that we are in. So if that is the case, then we need to see how we can, do this. And just like what was Excel in 2000, AI is today. So that's the first part. So how do we democratize and ensure that everyone, does AI and does an AI in minor, and we can do that. The second is, one of my colleagues recently gave an interview, and she explained it very beautifully. What is engineering, right? You have science, technology, society and nature. You take theory from science, tools from technology, resources from nature. And what does community or society has problems, and we solve those problems. And in the center of that square is what engineer is. So how do we ensure we get into more project-based learning? And today, if a student says, I have finished this 4-year engineering course, but hold on, by the way, I have 1 year work experience. Companies sit up and take note of it. And how do we give this 1 year experience, right? Internships are there, but imagine the practicality from an industry perspective. If you have 200,000 engineers graduating, we can't even create 200,000 jobs. So how do we create 200,000 internships? But that's where post-COVID, all of this hybrid work, and even if you come to office, there are not many employees there. Employees are also in hybrid. So what we can ask companies, and they will be happy to do it, and from UPS as well, we are happy to do, which is give business problems, right? The problem statements we can give. Students can work at their own pace, their own campuses, and then we can work out a model by which they can do project work remotely, right? So project work remotely, 2 6-month projects if they can do without disturbing their academics. And if the student comes to the interview and says, by the way, I have done this 4-year engineering course, and I also have 1 year experience, we sit up and take note of that student. So how do we create that? That could be a second thought I would like to leave with. And the third, 5 years back, I don't know, when I graduated, this incubator was a word that I never heard of, I must confess. Slowly, most of the colleges here have their own incubators. I'm not saying everyone should get into a startup, everyone should become an entrepreneur, but what companies are looking for is that entrepreneurial mindset, right? And if you see, there are very interesting, social problems that some of our students have solved, and these are all student startups which are successful. And obviously, there are many hundreds of ideas which never made it, but nevertheless, the mindset with which they come to solve a problem. If you can, all these are there in Google, and you can look at it. But if we can foster that spirit of entrepreneurial mindset, and need not necessarily be an entrepreneur, but that mindset if we can create, because at the end of the day, when they join the industry, they have to solve a business problem. So that's what this creates. So I would like to leave you with this 3 thoughts: how we can do AI for all. The second is how we can weave in 1 year work experience. And the third is how do we nurture the spirit of converting an idea to product and bring that entrepreneurial mindset. And last but not the least, it's all Maya. Okay, so Maya stands for most advanced yet acceptable. So we are not going to, business is not in a rush to adopt a technology for the sake of technology. Is it acceptable? Is it going to solve a problem? So it's not necessarily the most advanced, but what is acceptable. That's what matters. So with that, I'll leave the stage, and I'm sure many more chefs are here who will share their thought and make more interesting dosas. And for those of you who walked in late, you didn't miss much. The entire presentation was generated using AI. Thank you.